Orly and Catherine from Keenan Recruitment. Welcome back to another episode of What Do You Do? And today we're joined with Ellie Francis from Natural. And welcome, Ellie. Thank you so much for coming along today.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So basically, we want to jump straight in with the question, and what do you do?
So my name is Ellie, as Orly said. I am a director at Natural, and it's an employer brand agency. We basically work with companies and recruitment agencies to help them use social media to attract talent. And so that's really it in a nutshell.
And what would your day-to-day look like? How would you start off?
Day-to-day, usually we start off with client emails, making sure that nothing has happened. So we've got some clients over in the States and Canada, so making sure that nothing has happened there, good or bad, overnight, that we need to do it immediately. And then also, so it starts out basically working with clients like an audit, so where we look at, what clients and their competitors are doing in terms of social media for recruitment, or it might be training. Generally, we'll do our training in the afternoon. So once we get sort of past lunchtime, we usually work with an organisation on delivering a bit of training on using social media to attract talent.
Brilliant. That sounds like quite a niche role as well. How did you get into that?
Yeah, so it is actually quite niche. I had originally started out my business as a training firm, and it was always centered around making the onboarding experience really relevant. So something I found going through my career was whenever I joined organisations that the onboarding didn't really feel relevant to me. It all felt quite boilerplate, and like it was just something, you got your handbook, you signed some things, you did a bit of training, how much depended on the organisation itself. And I started out then doing onboarding training and onboarding experiences to make people feel much more individual and like it was specifically tailored to them and their role. Then went down the line of, actually we can't onboard enough people, some of my clients are saying, so I went into employer brand, which is something that we still do, so working with companies to sort of develop a presence as an employer of choice. But it became quite clear in sort of the past year and a half that actually where that magic happens, if you like, in terms of attracting talent is really in the social media sphere. And that's kind of where candidates first engage. And as you guys know, engage with the company itself or recruitment agency is in that social sphere. And then they start going down the process, whether that be with an agency or with the company itself.
Yeah, brilliant. Wow.
Ellie, have you noticed, you mentioned there that you have international clients as well. Have you noticed any different trends across in the UK versus US?
It's interesting because it does appear that the difficulty to attract talent is everywhere. I do think that in the US we're definitely moving much more quickly towards a sort of employer brand notion within companies. So specifically in Northern Ireland, we aren't that progressive about employer brand. I think we still somewhat live in a society here where people think, you should be grateful to have a job, and it needs to be very kind of run-of-the-mill, we want to hire you, do you want a job, move on type thing. And I think companies here see a downfall of that. For me, the biggest trend in terms of in the past year has been remote working, obviously. And I know both candidates and friends who are working for companies in the States remotely, and that's talent that we're losing essentially because they're not working for local companies here. So I would say that's kind of the biggest trend that I'm noticing is with my international clients, they're not necessarily focusing on local talent, they're focusing on global talent to work for them remotely. Whereas I think locally, we're still very laser focused on local talent.
Yeah. Well, it must be interesting to see the comparisons of it as well. So,
yeah.
Wow. And so take us back to the very beginning. So we know what you're doing now and what got you into that. But what was your first job?
So my very first job was whenever I was 14, and it was at Barry's in Portrush. So that was where I started my career.
Wow.
Smell the candy corn.
Not much corn already.
I just
Not much need for employer branding to get you into Barry's.
Nostalgia. Brilliant. Oh, that's
yeah,
so
so
good.
it was fun.
I worked your way from there.
Yeah, I worked there for about 4 years, so until I finished school, and then after I finished school I went to do an apprenticeship at PwC, and then I ended up at uni anyway, but we all get where we're going.
Exactly. And I think we're finding that a lot in doing this small series, that it's not as straightforward as this is exactly what I'm going to do and this is my path. It's definitely not, which is really, it's it's good to hear that from like successful professionals like yourself, because I think it does give a lot of people who maybe are in a situation now that they're not too sure what their next steps are,
Yeah.
Or maybe they're rethinking what they want to do. So I think it is great to hear that, so that they know that it isn't as smooth sailing, or not smooth sailing, but as straightforward as what it's meant to be or what it's made out to be.
Yeah, I think it can be quite stressful to think about where you might end up.
Yeah.
And it's something that I try not to do anymore because I've had so many segues. I think so. Sheryl Sandberg, who I'm sure you guys know, she's CEO of Facebook. She said you don't have necessarily a career ladder; it's more of a jungle gym. I think that's so representative, because actually there have been things that I've done and really seen myself then progressing through that, and this is where I want to be in 10 years, and it all seems very linear. And now, whenever I think in that sense as a business owner, I think, right, this is where I want to go, and in my head it seems linear, but things come up and things come up, and for me, I suppose it was all about doing what you want to do at the time, and I guess that might be a bit irresponsible in certain situations, but I always try to sort of, at the time, if I fancy doing something, or I don't think what I'm doing right now is working for me, I'm happy to sort of make a move. I don't know in the long term where that ends you up, but I do think it's much more of a trend now that people aren't really sticking with something for so many years and almost refraining from moving because they feel like they shouldn't.
Yeah.
And likewise, people do stay in the same place for years and years because they want to, but I think there's much less of an intent, like an inclination now for people to be like, right, no, I've made my decision. I need to just stay where I'm at and stick it out.
Yeah. No, I would agree 100%. Yeah.
Good. In terms of that, then, do you see, coming up to the last quarter, 2021, 2022, have you got any big projects in the pipeline that you're looking forward to?
I think in terms of big projects, we are definitely streamlining the business. We are definitely working much more on the social recruitment side, and we have just launched our sort of very niche social recruitment workshop, where it used to be sort of a package of different training options. We're sort of really trying to streamline everything, so I'm super excited. I'm super excited about that. And yeah, lots of kind of personal and professional projects that are exciting. I think the past sort of year has had everybody working really hard on lots of different things and following various different passion projects. So I think it's kind of given everyone some time to realign, and for Nocturnal, that's been, I suppose, realigning exactly what we do, and as opposed to doing a variation of different things, we've sort of really been streamlining, and so that's sort of the project going forward. Will be sort of promoting and moving with that.
Thanks so much. Brilliant. And just to sort of finish our recruitment questions, would you have any career advice that you would want to give somebody, or if you could speak to yourself, your younger self now, what would you say to them?
That you're not making a decision for life. I think that's so important. I mean, when I was at school, wanted to be a barrister. Ironically, didn't go down that route because I didn't realize you had to be self-employed, and I didn't want to be self-employed whatsoever. Whenever I was at school, I still went on to study law, and did my various placements and things like that. But I think just do what you want to do at the time. Go after something, and if you want to change, you can. And I'm sure you guys say that all the time. People are just deciding that they want to do something completely different. And even when I did do law, something that struck me was the sheer amount of mature students in our class who had just decided they wanted to go and do law and are now solicitors, people that I stay in touch with professionally. And I think all experience is relevant. It's all transferable. So I think don't almost panic yourself and think you're making a decision for life, because you're not. And the kind of older you get and the more you go through these things, you realize actually nothing's final, and I can go back and revisit later on if I want to.
Fab. So we'll finish off today with our random questions. Promise there's no bad ones. Promise.
Ellie, your question is, what is your favorite holiday destination and why?
My favorite holiday destination is Paris. It is just my favorite city. I love food. I love going out and walking around at night. even doing a bit of cycling around Paris. I'm nothing too athletic, just a little like city bikes. But I think there's so much to see, and I like that it's all kind of very compact. You can sort of walk around within a couple of hours and see everything. So yeah, it's Paris.
Yeah, wow. I keep meaning to bet for go somewhere like Paris.
Yeah,
definitely, because it's on the list for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Ellie, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks
We
for having
really appreciate you coming in and sharing your story. It's so interesting to hear about how you developed your career and you started off studying something else and then you went into the niche market that you're in at the minute. So thank you so much for taking the time to do that. And thank you everybody for watching. Sorry, I've probably just been outside of this the whole time. And tune in next week for our new episode as well. Thanks so much.
Bye.